Today's video is going to be another plus size riders video guide, and in this video I'm going to talk about how you as a plus size rider may fit on the rides at Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Six Flags Fiesta Texas is, in my opinion, one of the better Six Flags legacy parks, which was a Six Flags park branded before Six Flags and Cedar Fair became under the Six Flags umbrella. And it's pretty well themed, a pretty good park, and if you're going as a plus size rider, you may be a little nervous about, hey, what can I ride? Is it going to be worth my time? Is there going to be anything for me to do? And this is what this video is aiming to do, is just go over every single ride. I'm not going to go over the water park, I'm just going to go over the main park and rides in the main park. And again, how you may fit on the ride. So for reference, the last time I was at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, I weighed about 290 pounds. I am 5'6". I carry a vast majority of my weight in my stomach. I do carry some weight in my hips and thighs. I don't really carry much weight in my chest area though. Dimensions, I'm going to say waist is about 50, hips around 55, just so both 50s range. Chest would be lower 40s, so just to give you an idea. So I'm going to go through every single coaster and ride, and we're going to go ahead and actually start the video with the coasters, and then thrill rides and family, and finally the kiddie rides. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the video. Iron Rattler is an RMC, or Rocky Mountain Construction coaster, and RMCs are not known for being plus size friendly. This one is unfortunately no exception. There is a test seat out front for this ride, so I will stress this. This goes for any ride, anywhere. If there is a test seat, please use it. Don't be scared to use it. It is better to use it. That is what it's there for, to see if you will fit before you wait in a long ride and then do what's called a walk of shame. It's better to know and then not do that wait and waste your time. And then potentially get embarrassed in front of a lot more people. Yeah, somebody may look at you when you're trying the test seat out, but a lot less people would be looking at you than if you're on the ride. And again, that's what it's for. So, RMC, this has a lap bar and like a shin guard, and it has to come down pretty far to lock. Unfortunately, I do not fit on this. If you have a bigger stomach or even bigger thighs, this could cause a problem. This is just, especially the stomach, this is just not even really close to fitting on me. It's definitely not plus size friendly. I would say maybe down maybe 240 and maybe fit. But unfortunately, yeah, definitely if you have a problem with your stomach, bigger stomach, you may have difficulty fitting on Iron Rattler. So Wonder Woman Golden Lasso coaster, this is another RMC coaster. It does have a test seat, so please, please, please try that out. This has an over-the-shoulder restraint, and it buckles in between your legs. I don't fit this one. I do come closer than I do on Iron Rattler, but just still not close enough to even make it. So if you don't make Iron Rattler, but you think it may be close, try this one because you may fit it. But then on the contrary, if you do fit this, you may not necessarily fit Iron Rattler, but if you do fit Iron Rattler, you will fit this one. So if you do have a big chest, this could cause you problems, or big stomach could cause issues as well. I would say more towards 250, 260 would probably be the weight for this, and again, big chest, big stomach could cause issues. Goliath and Superman Krypton coaster both have very basically the same seat styles. They both have test seats. So there'll be two different type of seats. The test seat is showing the larger modified basically, or big boy B&M seats that will have 2 buckles. So if you can fit in these seats, you can ride on any seat in the, or you can ride in the seats with the double buckles. So those will be the modified seats. So when you go up there, just ask the attendant for a seat with the 2 buckles. I'm not sure which row or seats they are, but they will know. And they will be able to guide you to those seats. So I do fit, but I do have to have an attendant push, and it is very, very snug. And a tip I also use to help fit is I kind of like tilt my pelvis like up in the seat, because I don't actually fit flat. My butt don't fit flat in the seat, so I kind of tilt my pelvis up, and somehow it moves my stomach, so the biggest part of my stomach doesn't interfere as much with the restraint. Because my problem with this, again, if you do have a big chest, this could be a problem. Again, my hips don't fit all the way down, so if you do have wide hips, you may have an issue. Thighs not really a problem here, but big stomach is going to be a problem with this restraint type. More forgiving than the RMC restraints for sure, but again, try the test seats, and there is modified seats which are bigger than the regular seats that will have the 2 seat belts, and that is how the test seat is. Dr. Diabolical's cliffhanger is very similar to Goliath and the Superman Krypton coaster, as they're made by B&M, and it does have the over-the-shoulder restraint with the seatbelt that will come up, and it has the test seat out front. However, this one will have a red seatbelt, and that will indicate that it is a bigger seat, or the big boy seats. So if you can fit in that, you can ride in the seat with a red seatbelt. It just gives you that little bit of extra room. I fit the same. I just need push, and it can be pretty freaking snug, not gonna lie. Again, bigger stomach, bigger chest can be a problem. My hips fitting all the way down, bigger hips can be a problem with this as well. Just definitely check that test seat and ask the attendant for the red seatbelt seats if you need it. Batman the Ride is an SNS 40 free spin coaster, and this one is definitely more accommodating than some of the coasters we've talked about. It does have a test seat out front, over the shoulder restraint system. However, I fit on this one. I felt it was roomier than the other over the shoulder restraint B&Ms, for example. So I even fit with some room to spare, so I personally think that this one could accommodate a person bigger than me. So I would definitely give this one a shot, even if you are bigger in the chest or bigger in the stomach. This one, again, it's more accommodating for sure. So this is Poltergeist, and this is actually the same trains and a clone of the Flight of Fear coasters, if you've ever rode those. If you can ride Flight of Fear, you'll be able to ride this. So it has a lap bar, but then it'll also have a seatbelt that attaches onto the side of the lap bar, and that seatbelt's the problem. So the lap bar has to come down pretty far for the seatbelt to attach. I've had mixed results. There's been times where maybe I wasn't as bloated or something, and I've been able to ride this, but trust me, it's been close. And then times where I haven't, and I've been around the same weight. So they have told me to cross my legs, and that can help get it down, so I am able to ride. So it's pretty close at my weight, around 290. And again, this is going to be a problem if you have a big stomach. I don't foresee it being a problem, honestly, if you're big anywhere else, but it's really a problem on your stomach with Poltergeist. But if you have rode Flight of Fear, you would be able to ride this. But there is no test seat, unfortunately. So if you do have a bigger stomach, just be wary of this one. Boomerang coast to coaster. If you've rode a Vekoma boomerang sit down style, it's the same restraints. So it has an over the shoulder restraint you pull down. It's pretty accommodating overall. Maybe if you have an exceptionally big chest area or exceptionally big stomach, I would think more of the stomach. You could have issues. I don't really have any issues fitting in this. I don't really see a lot of people having a lot of issues. It doesn't have a test seat, but this is one of the more accommodating rides for a plus size rider. This is Pandemonium. So this just has a lap bar and it has to come down to a set level. I'm not exactly sure what that level is, but the attendants will know. I've had to have them push on my lap bar a bit before. I've always been able to ride Pandemonium though. This could cause an issue if you do have a big stomach. Also, potentially if you have really big hips. I haven't really ran into the big hips being too big of an issue with Pandemonium. I don't think the seats are super narrow on this. And obviously your chest wouldn't pose any issues. Maybe if you are somewhat bigger than me, you might not be able to ride because of how the lap bar has to come down. But overall, it's Pandemonium. It's pretty accommodating. So this is Roadrunner Express. It just has a lap bar that comes down to your level of comfort. It doesn't have to come down very far at all. It's a very accommodating ride. I don't foresee, honestly, anybody having an issue with this. It's pretty plus size friendly. So this is Kid Flash Cosmic Coaster, and I have not been to Fiesta Texas since they put this in or rode anything that's the same as it. Pretty sure this is the only one that really exists around like it. So it just has a lap bar, which from what I've read, it just kind of has to come down to your level of comfort. So from everything I read, it's relatively accommodating from what I have read. From my personal experience, I would not know. Also, I've heard reliability on this thing. It's kind of hard to ride, been closed a lot, having issues there. But again, from what I have heard, it's pretty accommodating, but just take that with a grain of salt, as that's just what I've heard. This is Batgirl Coaster Chase. So this is a Vekoma Junior coaster. So this is a coaster that's really more meant for kids. So it has a lap bar, and you can ride as an adult with your kid. It's not the most roomy thing out there. It is possible as a plus size person to ride if you have a very smaller kid with you. Is it going to be comfortable? No. Is it possible to ride? Yes. Again, if you have a smaller kid with you. And because it is a shared lap bar, it's only going to come down to the level of the biggest person, so that could potentially be scary for your child if you are a lot bigger than them. Just letting you know. So it may be better not to ride with them or let somebody else ride with them and just watch. But it is possible to ride. It's just going to be pretty squishy because it is made for kids, and it just may not be the most comfortable ride out there. So moving on to our flat rides, and we're going to again start out with our thrill rides and then move on to more family rides, ending with our kids rides. So this first one here is Scream. This is Fiesta Texas's drop tower. So Scream does not have a test seat, and the seat itself is very narrow. Like if you have wide hips, even somewhat wide hips, you may have trouble fitting in this seat. Also, you may have difficulty if you have a bigger upper chest area, maybe even bigger thighs, bigger stomach, honestly bigger anywhere. You may have trouble with the seat and restraint system with the over-the-shoulder restraint that it does have that comes down over you. I unfortunately was not able to fit, and my hips would not go all the way back in the seat. This was a very, very tight fit, and this is unfortunately going to be a tight one for plus size riders. This is Joker Carnival of Chaos. It's a pendulum style ride. They do have these at other parks, so if you have rode them in another park, you should be good to go here. There is a test seat though, so definitely use that to check out. And it has an over the shoulder restraint that must click in. It also must come down a little further to lock. That's the part, like, if you sometimes you can get it to click, but you may not get it to push down any further, but you do have to get it to push down further. I am able to ride this. It is very, very, very close, and an attendant always has to push on me. Um, so definitely try that test seat out. I don't find that the seats are super narrow though. If you do have bigger hips, may not cause as much of a problem. It's just if you have a bigger chest area, but I think more or less bigger stomach could be definitely a problem for this one. This is Fireball. It's like a giant looping circle that goes upside down. These are common in a lot of places. If you've rode one elsewhere, it's the same type of deal as here. So it has an over the shoulder restraint. If you have a bigger chest area, you could have problems. It comes down and it must latch to the seat belt. It comes up in between your legs. I was able to fit on Fireball. Um, it was kind of tight, not gonna lie. It's pretty much like the Joker Carnival of Chaos, so I would like to think if you could fit in one, you could fit in the other, and vice versa. Attendant did definitely have to help me on this, though. But I would say this is a lot like the Joker Carnival of Chaos as far as fit goes. Daredevil Dive Flying Machines. This one's a over-the-shoulder restraint as well. I was able to fit very, very, very tight. Like, I honestly did not think I was going to actually fit it first. But I was able to, and if you do have a bigger chest, I could definitely see this one for sure causing issues, bigger stomach. The seat also, if you have bigger hips, like, it was smushy. This is definitely smushy. It was not comfortable. I think it was honestly maybe even tighter than Joker or Fireball was for me. This definitely though, because this, I feel like the over-the-shoulder restraint on this is bulkier than Fireball or Joker Carnival of Chaos. If you really do have a bigger chest, this one I think would cause more problems than those two. But if you don't have a bigger chest and you could ride those two, then this one I think would be fine to ride as well for the most part. But I think of the three, this one may be the tightest. So if you were wanting to ride maybe one and fit better, maybe try one of the other two for sure over this one. Hurricane Force 5 has a pretty unique restraint system. So you're actually going to sit forward, and the attendant will come and latch the restraint from behind you. Kind of reminds me, if you've ever been to Disney World, Avatar Flight of Passage, that style of restraint system. There's also a ride, I believe, at Dollywood that has the same restraint system as well. So the good news, though, is this one is actually really accommodating, even for people bigger than me. Maybe a problem potentially if you have a super big stomach, but honestly, this one is definitely a more accommodating one. To make it better, you can scoot. I definitely recommend scooting up as far as you can, and then pulling yourself forward as much as you can to ensure that it locks. But this one's definitely more accommodating. This ride is called Supergirl Skyflight. So it's one of those super tall swing rides that can seat two people side by side. And if you like for your comfort, you can request to sit by yourself. Honestly, though, I don't think it makes a huge difference if you do have somebody beside you on this one. So you will have a belt that'll come kind of across your chest area. I always recommend putting it at the smallest part of your chest, which for me is, you know, under the breast area, above the waist, to get it to fit. It's a decent length, but it can definitely be snug. I was able to get it, and then you just have the bar that comes down that as the buckle that goes in between your legs like a traditional swing ride, and I was able to get that as well. My fat was kind of smushed in there for sure, but I was able to fit. I would think even a little bigger than me you could fit, but maybe more towards like 325 you may have some issues. Again, just depending where you carry your weight. I could potentially see some issues, but for the most part, unless you have a super big like chest, even with my big stomach, I didn't really have too many issues with this one though. Talking about another swing ride, this one is the DC Super Villains swing. So this one is more of an individual swing, doesn't go as high, and it just has the bar that comes down with the strap between your legs. It's smushy, but I do fit in here. Again, if you do have a bigger waist, that would be the biggest issue. Because of how swings are designed, your hips shouldn't really be an issue. And your fat can kind of smush out, so that does help with swings. But you just got to get that bar down for that belt to be able to come up. But usually it's kind of pretty easy to smush around and get it maneuvered. This is Wave Runner. This is a scrambler ride, and it's accommodating to pretty much anybody. It does have a seat belt, which I think is very long. You could even potentially ride with another plus size rider depending on the size, or definitely probably a smaller adult or a child. But if you are worried about the seatbelt length, you can definitely always ride by yourself. But I don't really see many people having an issue on this one. This is Gully Washer. This is the raft ride you go through the water in. A lot of parks have these, and they're pretty much all the same. So the only restraint system is there will be a seat belt. It tends to be pretty long, shouldn't really cause a lot of issues. I believe this one may have a shared seatbelt system for both seats together, but you can always request to ride by yourself just to ensure that you will fit in that seatbelt, because I feel like on this particular one, if I do remember correctly, the seatbelt wasn't super long to have two people together unless it was just like you and a child, but by yourself it should honestly be fine for Gully Washer. These two rides, they are Pirates of the Deep Sea and Spin Sanity. They have a lap bar, but it's going to be very accommodating and anybody should be able to fit in it. It just comes down to your level of comfort. The following rides and attractions shouldn't really cause an issue for anybody. They don't really have like a lap bar or anything that would come down over you where your size would prohibit you from riding. So anybody of any size should be able to ride these rides. They are the Bugs Whitewater Rapids, Crow's Nest, Fiesta Texas Railroad, the Grand Carousel, and the Hustler. The next ride is Green Lantern Emerald Flight. And this has a seatbelt, and the seatbelt is of a decent length. Not as long as other seatbelts I've talked about before in this video for other rides. So I think most plus size people would be able to ride this unless you're exceptionally large. However, you might have to ride in this seat solo. If you're accompanying a small child, maybe. If not, ride in the back, they ride in the front, or vice versa of the ride vehicle. As the seatbelt's just not as long as some of the other seats that I've talked about. But I still think most of us would be able to ride this. Bucking Broncos is definitely a kid's ride, but adults are allowed to ride. However, this is just not going to accommodate plus size riders. It's very smushy. It has a shared lap bar that comes across all riders on the ride vehicle, and it just has a very tiny seat. Maybe if you're very small plus size, but even then it's very uncomfortable unless you're a small adult. It's just really made more for kids. Alright, these last 5 rides I'm going to talk about, you can actually only ride if you have a child with you, if you're above 54 inches. So above 54 inches, you must be accompanying a child to be able to ride. These are all basically kid-oriented rides, is what they are. With that being said, Daffy's Bus Stop. Almost any size person should be able to fit. It's just a seat. The door opening is very narrow and kind of hard to get in, but once you're in, you should be fine. And then we have Foghorn Leghorn's Barnyard Railway. There is a car that would accommodate anybody of any size. It's open, so that would be a good choice. Then we have what's called Kinderstein, which is like teacups. They're pretty accommodating, but they're still smaller, so your stomach may be against that table in the center. It may be uncomfortable if you do have an exceptionally large stomach, so just warning you there. Now, Taz's Tornado is a shared seat swing ride. Now, this one, honestly, it's not as tight as like Bucking Broncos that I talked about a little bit ago. But it's still smaller, really made for kids. As a smaller plus size, it's definitely possible. Bigger plus size, you're going to be smushed, or it may honestly not work at all. And then finally, Yosemite Sam's Wacky Wagons should be relatively accommodating for plus size riders. Shouldn't really have any issues with that ride, maybe just getting in it just because of the height. But other than that, it should be fine to ride. So that concludes this video on Plus Size Rider's Guide to Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I hope that you found this video helpful in planning your upcoming trip to Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Just knowing what you may be able to ride as a plus size rider. I know it can definitely be nerve-wracking and a little intimidating, perhaps scary, going to a theme park as a plus size rider. I've been there. I am, still plus size. And you want to go have a good time with your family, friends, whoever you're going with. But you want to be able to ride stuff too, of course. You pay for admission. Hey, I want to be able to ride this with you. And the worst thing, especially on a crowded day, when you're standing in a long line, just to find out that, hey, you can't ride. So I'm here to hopefully help you see, hey, what rides you think you can ride. And to also reassure you that no matter what, and this holds true for every single theme park, there is always going to be something that you can ride. And hopefully, usually there is even a coaster that you can ride as well. So there's always going to be something you can ride. There's always going to be all kinds of things to look at, some cool food or drinks to enjoy. And most theme parks usually have some shows or other attractions you can enjoy as well. So just go in with a positive mindset, but just note that there is going to be something that you can do, and always use the test seat if it is provided, and just go have a good time, and just hopefully this video helps. And I thank you all so much for watching, and please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.